Hi, and welcome back to our channel. We are filming another Q&A for you today because the last time we did it, you guys asked us a bunch more questions. Solo has not been around much the month of May with my sit-down videos because he's been too busy, but yay, he's back. And you guys are lucky I came back because last time you all sided with Solo.
Why?
About days off.
Oh, yeah.
You all sided with him. I couldn't believe it.
But that's
Come on,
the
people.
truth. We all need a day off.
I know everybody agrees with you, but they're probably doing what I do.
Well, I still work on my day off, but spontaneously.
Okay, I'm totally kidding.
Okay, well, let's go.
So we got a bunch of questions we're answering today. I will link those other videos in the description box below if you want to go back and watch those. So for today, Maya Ibarra asked, would you and Solo ever consider adopting? I think it would be so cool if your family adopted a child from Kenya. I love your family dynamic and how you've both lived in each other's native countries before. So yes, we absolutely would consider adopting, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We actually considered adopting from Kenya several times, but Kenya currently does not make it very easy unless you live in the country. So unfortunately, that probably wouldn't be an option for us unless we moved to Kenya one day. When we were engaged, I was working at a home for orphans, as you know if you watched our How We Met video, which I can also link down below. But there was a little boy there that I was in love with and tried to talk Solo into adopting before we had even finished getting married. We actually have almost adopted a couple times already, but it hasn't worked out so far, and so hasn't been in God's timing for us yet. This is from Emily Q. How do you balance extracurriculars? Do you have a hard and fast rule, like one activity per kid at a time, or only group activities?
We don't have set rules right now. It's enough to juggle just one kid's schedule. Can you imagine juggling 9? We kind of go by the flow, I guess, when this comes. You know, if a child has a keen interest and it can work for them and the family, then we make it happen. You know, most of the time they end up being group projects, but every once in a while you have different kids that have different things individually. But we don't sign up for a lot of them, so it's yeah. We
don't do every opportunity that comes our way, for sure.
Exactly.
And no kid has ever been like in 2 sports at once or something like that.
Right.
But
it just wouldn't even be physically possible to do it. Yeah.
But they've gotten to do the things they love, so. Camille Lawrence Bryant asked, do you give your kids an allowance? How much, for what, and what age? So we've gone a long time without doing allowances at all. I can be persuaded by the argument either way, honestly. I don't feel strongly either way about it, but currently we do give them a paycheck, not an allowance, I guess, because it's for the chores that they do. Their zones. If they do their jobs every day without being asked, they get a certain amount a month, and they get some deducted when they have days that they don't do a good job. So it's just been an extra incentive we added this last year that's really helped them do a better job on their zones. R. Ann says, I have a question for Solo. For a young couple just starting out, what are the top 3 pieces of financial advice you would give them?
Well, that's a good question. Definitely I would say, if I'm trying to think about prioritizing 3. The first one, it would be stay out of debt as much as you can avoid. Don't get into it easily, because it's sure easy to get into debt and so much harder to get out of debt, any kind of debt. So that would be just a good foundation to keep debt at a minimum. The second thing I would say is budgeting. The B word, the dreaded B word. Just learning how to live within your means. And the best way to do that is recording your expenses and just being real about it. And the budgeting can change. You can change it. Again, it's based on your own priorities. There's there's nothing bad on the budget. You could put some stuff that are blow money on the budget, but as long as you're recording and you know you're in agreement on what to spend on, that's what matters. So you keep a record of your expenses. And the last one I would say for the top 3 is generosity. If you hold your money this way tightly, that's good. You can hold on to it, but also you can't receive anything from it. So just kind of practice a lifestyle of generosity. And when you're young, you're broke, you don't have a lot of money, you build that into, it won't be as hard when maybe when you start being successful and you have a lot of money, you can continue with generosity. It's something that a lot of people wait. They think in their minds that I'm going to wait till I have a lot of money to be generous. I think generosity has nothing to do with how much you have. So my top 3, again, I'll repeat it, is stay out of debt, keep a budget, and live generously. You will never regret those 3 things.
What would be your advice for them if they came into the relationship with debt?
I would say something simple is that create a plan, an actual plan of paying off your debt. Put something in your budget. Find an amount in your budget that you can use to accelerate debt. Again, I'm all for agreeing for the amount. Don't force this on your spouse. Don't let your spouse force it on you. And agree. It's $100, $500, whatever. I don't know what your situation might be, but decide on an amount that you will put in your budget, that you put regularly into paying down whatever debt you have. Prioritizing the debt, starting with the smallest ones first, and then the highest interest rate, and off you go. You start doing that, you will get out of debt very quickly, and just be intentional about it. So if you walked into the marriage, and I know these days so many people, they get married and they have student loans, maybe one spouse does or both have. I've met with people in their 50s who still have student loans. So if you don't get a hold of it early, and you would be surprised how time flies and still be carrying a lot of debt around. So that's what I would say.
Cynthia Calleros, probably Calleros, asked, hi, do you ever miss working as an RN? To be honest, I did love my jobs that I did as an RN, but I don't miss it because I really love what I'm doing now, just being home, raising my kids, and homeschooling. I like it a lot more than I even thought I would. I think I went to school to be an RN to do orphan work though, and I really haven't got a long-term chance to do that. So if I had done that for a long time, I would probably miss it more than I do. One mama to another says, how do you afford the cost of traveling overseas? We are a mixed race family and have only been able to take our children over to visit family once in 10 years. We live simply and budget, but the airfare is still out of our reach.
I would have to agree with you. It is expensive to travel these days, and you don't get kids, you don't get, especially internationally, you don't get discounts for kids as much as you would. So it costs a lot of money. We struggle the same way, and we just have made it we try to make it a priority, something that not only do we work hard for, we also pray about these things. Like even with that, we involve our kids in praying for it. I know the last time we went, which is about 3 years ago, and it was just a step of miracle after miracle. I had run into some tickets that were very, very well priced, and I knew I needed to act, So I had just enough money for the tickets, but we had so many things to take care of, and somehow, some way, God made it happen. There are different things would come open up as we lead. So it's a step of faith, making it a priority, and I realize how difficult it is. We don't even go as often as we would want to, and so if it was for us, we would do every other year.
Yeah, I agree. It was hard to make the decision, but when we finally made the decision and saw an opening, we didn't have all the money, we didn't have everything lined up, but we started moving in that direction, and we were able to do the trip. And actually, it's something, especially every time we do it again, we realize this has to be a huge priority for us. So
yeah, and I have met people that also other international family or people that don't go, and that are even in a different situation, maybe not even as many kids, because sometimes if you don't make it a strong priority, there's always going to be something that's going to demand your money, and we just don't want it to be for us that we look back and say we never did the kids were out of the house and we never got that opportunity. So.
Yeah, and it's some of the reason we have, and he has 2 jobs,
right?
A business on the side. So that's how much of a priority it is. So Lexi plus 3 said, do you have any advice for someone wanting to start homeschooling with children in grades 2, 3, and 4? My biggest advice to people who want to start homeschooling is to find a community, find the homeschooling community in your area. Especially if you're in the States, I know homeschooling is growing and growing and growing every year a lot. And so most places you can find other people, and when you can talk to people about what worked for them and what didn't work for them, it's easier for you to figure out what will work for you. Also, there's the Homeschool Legal Defense that you can join that helps you figure out what's right for your state if you're in the United States. And that's a great resource to have. But as far as like what curriculum, where do I start? I think it's so great to find real life people to talk to about it and what worked for them. My aunts that had homeschooled helped me tremendously just kind of figure out what is right for me because of their experiences, and I think that's just invaluable. I do have a couple videos where I talked about what curriculum we use this year, and I basically use the same things every year, so I can link those in the description box below, and I plan to make another one this summer. Miss V asked, how do you guys financially do this? Reason I ask is because I plan on having a big family myself starting very soon, and we have been sitting down trying to figure out the financial part.
Wow, okay, I am so sorry. We never disclosed that we are from the royal family of the kingdom of, oh no, no, that was a lie. Again, it is so true. Kids do cost a lot of money. I think it's really awesome that you want more kids. We believe fundamentally that God loves children. If children are a blessing, and our culture says that, which is one of those oxymoron things that I found, that we say children are a blessing, but then we are afraid of children. And I'm not saying you are particularly, I'm just speaking generally to the culture. We believe that God blesses children and that He will provide for the children that He blesses us with if we are working in cooperation with Him. And so that being said, I agree that it is costly. The cost of living is definitely higher than it used to be. But number one, the children don't have to be as expensive as we may think sometimes. Do we plan for every eventuality that might come across that we know of? No, we can't. Even if we do have the resources, I don't think we can plan on everything. So what I would say is that I would plan for the child that I have now, and then they happen one at a time. But it has to be, also faith has to be part of the process. I mean, I grew up in a family of 6, and my parents did not have a lot of money. And somehow, some way, God provided, and we are all grown up now and adjusted, and somehow God provided for our parents. They didn't have all the fancy stuff that people have these days. And we didn't have the stuff that kids have these days, available to them. And I think we turned out okay.
Your parents didn't start your college funds at age 5?
I worked my way through any education I ever got. So,
yeah, I did too.
Yeah, so anyway, I think generationally there's been a shift, and there's a lot of, that's been pounded in people's minds. The cost of living has gone up considerably than it used to be. But at the same time, you gotta apply your faith if it is your desire, and make sacrifices as well. Anything you want that has value and importance also requires sacrifice. So I know we've had to sacrifice a lot for kids, and not in a bad kind of way. Like, we work hard to provide for our kids, I don't remember ever having one job. When I had my business, I worked as well. When I went to the ministry, I kept my business as well. So, and when I worked in the corporate world, I had a business as well when I worked for a corporate company. You work hard for the things that you desire, and God honors you through the process. So.
Yeah, and we made a lot of sacrifices when we first started having children. We weren't making as much money, And we cut a lot of things out that we thought were unnecessary, because to us having kids and providing for them was more important. And
The
so
certain things, yeah.
yeah, so we made adjustments, and then gradually our income started growing. It goes backward a little, then it starts growing again. So it's kind of the ebb and flow, but the Lord has provided, and our kids have not gone hungry, so we're thankful for that. So for the last question, Pam asked, are you planning a trip to Kenya anytime soon? And if so, will you be vlogging the trip? That would be such a great video. That will be a lot of videos.
Not one.
Because yes, we are hoping to go soon.
After Christmas, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
We're really hoping. And we would love to vlog when we went. So that would be fun.
When we went, that's past tense.
When we go.
I don't want to be, I want this to be present, looking forward to it. It's not over.
And then she also said, I know Nebraska can get quite a few bad storms or tornadoes. This is true. Not quite Kansas, but it's basically Kansas. Does your family have a safe room to go to? I think every Nebraskan has in the back of their mind where they will go when that storm comes. And yes, we do have a couple rooms in mind. So yep. And then when the tornado drills, they happen here every other week, I think on Wednesday mornings at 10 or something like that. And so when those sirens go off in the city, because they're every other week at 10, we all know that it's a drill. It can be a little confusing if you see dark clouds outside. But anyway, the kids, they love to go run to the shelter when they hear that drill. So we have fun with that. But we haven't had a tornado yet.
Thank God.
Yeah, at least not one that hurt us.
We did have one that was very close to our other house.
Yeah, like 2 years ago. Usually they say that our city's kind of in a bowl and we don't get them, but we did have we had some bad ones a couple years ago.
Yeah,
that were really close.
And then 10 years ago, we wiped out a small town just 5 miles south of us.
The towns near us get them bad. So anyway, thank you guys for watching today, and we will see you soon.
Great.
Bye.